In the bustling kingdom of Zalanga, where the sun painted the earth in shades of gold and amber, lived Princess Amara, daughter of King Jelani and Queen Sophia. The royal palace, with its towering walls of red clay and intricate carvings, stood as a testament to the family's immense wealth and power. Golden sculptures adorned every corner, and the floors sparkled with precious stones that merchants brought from distant lands. Princess Amara was blessed with beauty that made the morning sun jealous. Her skin glowed like polished bronze, and her eyes sparkled like stars on a clear night. When she walked, her colorful robes flowed like a gentle stream, and her braided hair, decorated with golden beads, created music with every step. The princess had everything a young woman could wish for, except for one terrible curse that plagued her life. Despite using the finest perfumes from Arabia, oils from Egypt, and herbs from the deepest forests of her kingdom, Princess Amara carried with her a body odor so strong it made even the bravest warriors step back. The smell wasn't always there. It would come and go mysteriously, like a ghost that haunted only her. As Princess Amara grew into a young woman of marriageable age, King Jelani organized grand ceremonies to find her a suitable husband. Princes and nobles came from far and wide, having heard tales of her beauty and the kingdom's wealth. Each time, the same thing would happen. The suitor would approach, captivated by her beauty, only to retreat hastily when the mysterious odor appeared. The palace whispers grew louder with each failed meeting. Some said she was cursed by a jealous witch, others claimed it was punishment from the gods, and a few brave souls suggested that perhaps the princess was cursed by her own pride. One particular day, during the season of heavy rains, Prince Koffi from the neighboring kingdom of Masara arrived at the palace. Unlike the others before him, he was not accompanied by a grand entourage or bearing expensive gifts. He arrived alone, riding a simple horse, carrying only a small bag and wearing a mysterious smile. When he was presented to the king, Prince Koffi made an unusual request. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing respectfully, "I ask for 7 days to court your daughter. During these 7 days, I wish to meet her at different times of the day, in different places within the palace grounds." The court burst into whispers. This was unheard of. Most suitors couldn't last more than a few minutes in Princess Amara's presence when her curse struck. But there was something about Prince Koffi's confident demeanor that intrigued King Jelani. "And what makes you think you're different from the others?" the king asked, leaning forward on his throne. Prince Koffi's mysterious smile never wavered. "Because, Your Majesty, I believe there's more to your daughter's curse than meets the eye, or should I say, meets the nose." Princess Amara, who was present during this exchange, felt her heart skip a beat. For the first time in years, someone wasn't running away at the mere mention of her condition. Instead, this strange prince wanted to spend more time with her. The first day of their courtship started in the palace gardens. As they walked among the blooming flowers, Princess Amara waited anxiously for her curse to manifest and drive away yet another potential suitor. But Prince Koffi seemed different. He asked her questions about her childhood, her dreams, and her favorite stories. He listened intently, his eyes never leaving her face, even when the dreaded odor began to appear. On the second day, they met in the palace library, where ancient scrolls told stories of kings and queens long gone. Prince Koffi noticed how the smell seemed stronger when they discussed certain topics, particularly when Princess Amara spoke about her royal duties and future responsibilities. By the third day, Princess Amara found herself looking forward to their meetings, despite her fear of the curse striking again. Prince Koffi took her to the palace kitchen, where they attempted to make traditional dishes together, something no prince had ever done before. The curse appeared briefly, but seemed less potent than usual. On the fourth day, they sat by the palace pond, feeding the colorful fish that had been brought from distant seas. Prince Koffi shared stories of his own kingdom, but something seemed off about his tales. He spoke like someone who had seen much more of common life than a prince typically would. The fifth day brought a surprise when Prince Koffi suggested they visit the palace servants' quarters. Princess Amara had never been there before, and to her amazement, her curse didn't manifest at all during their time among the common folk. The sixth day was spent in the palace throne room, where Prince Koffi asked her about her views on ruling a kingdom. As she spoke about the responsibilities of a royal leader, the odor returned stronger than ever, causing even the guards to discreetly cover their noses. On the seventh and final day, Prince Koffi requested a private audience with Princess Amara in the palace courtyard. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, when he finally spoke the words that would change everything. "Princess Amara," he began, his mysterious smile now replaced with a serious expression, "I know the truth about your curse." The princess felt her heart stop. "What do you mean?" "Your curse isn't a curse at all," he said, taking a step closer. "It's your body's way of telling you something important. I've been watching carefully these past 7 days, and I've noticed a pattern." Princess Amara leaned forward, hardly daring to breathe. Could this strange prince have discovered something that countless medicine men and spiritual healers had missed? "The odor appears strongest when you're pretending to be someone you're not," Prince Koffi explained. "When you're reciting the lessons you've been taught about being a proper princess, when you're trying to live up to the expectations placed upon you, your body rebels. But when you're being genuine, like when we were cooking in the kitchen or talking to the servants, the smell disappears completely." The princess stood frozen, her mind racing through every instance of her curse's appearance. Could it be true? Before she could respond, Prince Koffi continued, "And I have another confession to make." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple wooden pendant. "I'm not really a prince." The revelation hit Princess Amara like a bolt of lightning. "What? Then who are you?" "I'm a traveling healer, known in many villages for solving unusual ailments. I heard about your case and knew I had to help, but I also knew that as a common healer I would never be allowed near you. So I borrowed some fine clothes and presented myself as a prince." Just as Amara was processing this shocking revelation, voices and footsteps could be heard approaching the courtyard. The guards were coming for their evening patrol. She looked at the man before her, the man who had solved her curse but had also lied about his identity, and faced a decision that would change her life forever. Should she call out to the guards and have this impostor arrested for deceiving the royal family? Or should she listen to her heart, which told her that this man, prince or not, was the first person to truly see her for who she was? The footsteps grew closer, and the voices of the guards became clearer. Princess Amara opened her mouth to speak, but what happened next would set in motion a chain of events that would shake the very foundations of the kingdom of Zalanga. Princess Amara's heart raced as the guards' footsteps echoed through the corridor. In that moment, something deep within her shifted. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of her own truth pushing against years of royal protocol. "Quick," she whispered, grabbing the healer's hand. "Follow me." They rushed through the palace's hidden passages, secret corridors that Amara had discovered during her lonely childhood years, when other children avoided her because of her smell. The narrow paths twisted between the palace walls, lit only by thin streaks of light seeping through tiny cracks. Once they were safely hidden, Amara turned to the healer. "Tell me your real name," she demanded, her voice firm but quiet. "Kwame," he replied, his mysterious smile returning. "I came from a small village 3 kingdoms away, where I learned healing from my grandmother." "Why did you really come here, Kwame?" "Surely not just to solve my condition." Kwame's face turned serious. "I've traveled across many lands, princess. I've seen kingdoms where rulers live in golden palaces while their people starve. But I've also heard stories about you, how you sneaked food from the palace kitchen to feed hungry children, how you taught servant girls to read in secret, how you cared for sick animals that even the handlers had abandoned." Amara's eyes widened. She had thought nobody knew about these things. "Your curse," Kwame continued, "is actually a gift. It protected you from marrying any of those princes who only saw your beauty and your family's wealth. It kept you true to who you really are, someone who cares more about helping others than maintaining royal appearances." Before their conversation could continue, they heard King Jelani's voice booming through the palace halls. "Find them. Search every corner." The next few days passed in a blur of chaos and revelation. Amara helped Kwame hide in the servants' quarters while she went about her royal duties. But something had changed within her. Each time she sat through royal ceremonies or nodded along to talks about advantageous marriages, the smell would return stronger than ever. Now, though, she understood why. 1 week after their escape from the courtyard, during a grand feast where another potential suitor was to be presented, Princess Amara finally reached her breaking point. She stood up in the middle of the banquet, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "Father, mother, honored guests," she began, her voice shaking but growing stronger with each word. "I have something to confess." The great hall fell silent. Even the servants stopped their work to listen. "My curse is not what we thought it was. It appears when I try to be the princess everyone expects me to be, rather than who I truly am. And who I truly am is someone who wants to help people, not just from a throne, but with my own hands." Gasps echoed through the hall. Queen Sophia covered her mouth in shock, while King Jelani's face turned dark with anger. "What are you saying?" the king demanded. "I'm saying that I want to use our wealth and power to make real changes. I want to build schools where both noble and common children can learn together. I want to create healing houses where everyone can receive care, not just those who can afford it. I want to be a different kind of princess, one who serves her people not just by ruling them, but by walking among them." As she spoke these words, something miraculous happened. The usual murmurs about her smell were absent because for the first time in years, there was no odor at all. King Jelani rose from his throne, his face unreadable. The entire hall held its breath, waiting for his reaction. But before he could speak, Queen Safia stood up as well. "My daughter," the queen said, her voice thick with emotion, "when I was young, before I became queen, I used to be a healer in my village." This revelation caused another wave of gasps throughout the hall. "I gave it up because I thought I had to become a proper queen. Perhaps it's time for our kingdom to have a different kind of ruler." King Jelani looked at his wife in surprise, then back at his daughter. The silence stretched on for what felt like eternity. Finally, the king spoke. "Bring out this healer who has been hiding in my palace." Amara's heart sank, but she gestured to a servant who disappeared and returned moments later with Kwame. He walked into the great hall with his head held high, still carrying that mysterious smile. "You dared to deceive me," King Jelani said, his voice stern. "You entered my palace under false pretenses, got close to my daughter through lies, and helped her find her truth," Queen Sophia interrupted gently, "something we, with all our power and wealth, could not do." King Jelani fell silent again, looking between his daughter, his wife, and the humble healer who had changed everything. Finally, his stern expression softened slightly. "Perhaps," he said slowly, "it is time for Zalanga to have a different kind of princess, and eventually a different kind of queen." Tears of joy rolled down Amara's cheeks as she hugged her parents. The smell that had plagued her for so long was completely gone, replaced by the natural scent of the jasmine flowers in her hair. In the years that followed, Princess Amara worked alongside Kwame to transform Zalanga. Together, they established healing houses throughout the kingdom, where Kwame taught others his grandmother's remedies combined with new medicines from distant lands. Amara used her royal influence to create schools and learning centers, while also studying healing arts herself. The princess, who had once been known for her curse, became celebrated for her compassion and wisdom. Common people and nobles alike sought her counsel, not just for matters of health, but for all kinds of guidance. Some whispered that her earlier affliction had been a blessing from the ancestors, guiding her toward her true destiny. As for Kwame, he proved himself not through royal blood, but through his dedication to helping others and his unwavering support of Amara's vision. Their partnership blossomed into love, not the instant attraction of fairy tales, but a deeper connection built on understanding, truth, and shared purpose. On their wedding day, standing before the people of Zalanga, Princess Amara wore not the traditional royal robes, but a simple healer's dress decorated with golden thread. And as she and Kwame spoke their vows, the air was filled with the sweet scent of hope and new beginnings. The story of the cursed princess became a legend, told and retold throughout Africa. But it wasn't remembered as a tale of a curse at all. Rather, it became known as the story of how truth, love, and courage can transform not just one person, but an entire kingdom. From that day forward, the kingdom of Zalanga was known not just for its wealth and power, but for its wisdom and compassion. And whenever anyone in the royal family found themselves struggling between duty and truth, they would remember the curse that turned out to be a gift. A reminder that the greatest power we have is the courage to be who we truly are. 5 years after Princess Amara and Kwame's wedding, the kingdom of Zalanga flourished in ways nobody could have predicted. The healing houses they built served thousands, and their schools educated children from all walks of life. However, with great change came new challenges that would test the royal family in unexpected ways. One hot afternoon, while Amara was teaching a group of students about healing herbs in the palace garden, a messenger arrived, breathless and panicked. "Your Highness," he gasped, "there's trouble at the Northern Healing House." A mysterious illness had broken out in the northern province. Children were falling sick with symptoms nobody had seen before. Their skin turned pale as milk, and they slept for days without waking. The local healers were helpless, and parents were desperate for help. Kwame immediately prepared to travel north, but this created the first serious conflict in their marriage. Amara, now 7 months pregnant with their first child, insisted on going too. "You can't travel in your condition," Kwame argued, his usual mysterious smile replaced with worry. "The journey is too dangerous." "I'm a healer too," Amara replied firmly. "Our people need both of us." As if to emphasize her point, her old telltale odor began to surface, a sign she was trying to suppress her true nature. King Jelani, older now but still commanding, intervened. "Perhaps there's wisdom in both positions," he said thoughtfully. "But remember what happens when we deny our true calling, daughter." The compromise they reached was innovative. Amara would coordinate efforts from the palace using messenger birds to communicate with Kwame and other healers. She established a network of information sharing between all healing houses in the kingdom, something never done before. As Kwame traveled north, he discovered something crucial. All the sick children had eaten berries from a new plant that had grown after unusual floods. The plant looked identical to a common edible berry, but was subtly different. He worked with local healers to develop an antidote, while Amara used the messenger network to warn other provinces about the dangerous plant. But their challenges weren't over. Some of the kingdom's older nobles were growing increasingly uncomfortable with how much power and influence the common people were gaining through education. They began plotting to restore the old ways. The crisis came to a head during the harvest festival, just weeks after Amara had given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. The nobles presented an ancient law they had discovered, stating that only those of pure royal blood could inherit the throne. Since Kwame was a commoner, they argued, his children could never rule Zalanga. The palace erupted in chaos. The old smell that had once plagued Amara returned stronger than ever. But this time it affected everyone in the royal court who was hiding their true feelings about the situation. The entire throne room was filled with various offensive odors, exposing everyone's inner conflicts and hidden agendas. Amara laughed, actually laughed, as realization dawned on her. "Don't you see?" she asked the assembled nobles, all of whom were trying not to gag. "The ancestors are showing us something. Every time we try to build walls between people, every time we pretend to be something we're not, we create this stench. But when we're true to ourselves and treat everyone with dignity, the air clears." To prove her point, she walked to the great palace doors and threw them open, inviting in the common people who had gathered outside. As nobles mingled with farmers, merchants with servants, the awful smells began to fade. Queen Sophia, who had been quietly watching, stood up. "I think it's time I told you all a story," she announced. She revealed that the so-called ancient law the nobles had discovered was not so ancient after all. She had been there when it was written, barely 20 years ago, by nobles who feared losing their privileges. This revelation caused an uproar, but it also opened the door for change. Over the next few months, Amara and Kwame worked with both nobles and common people to write new laws that valued wisdom, compassion, and service above blood and birth. Their twins grew into curious children who spent their mornings learning arithmetic and history alongside the children of farmers and craftsmen, and their afternoons learning both royal protocol and healing arts. The boy showed a talent for diplomacy, while the girl had her father's gift for healing. But perhaps the most significant change was still to come. One day, while treating a group of elderly patients, Amara and Kwame made an astonishing discovery about the true nature of the kingdom's curse gifts. A discovery that would not only change their family's future, but reshape their understanding of the ancestors' powers. The discovery Amara and Kwame made about the curse gifts changed everything. While treating their elderly patients, they noticed something extraordinary. Whenever someone in their care was being untrue to themselves or hiding something important, they too began to emit a distinct odor. This wasn't just a random occurrence, it was happening more and more frequently throughout the kingdom. An old woman named Nana, known for her knowledge of ancient traditions, finally revealed the truth. "This is the breath of truth," she explained one evening as she sat with Amara and Kwame in the palace gardens. In the old days, many people had this gift. It was the ancestors' way of keeping our people honest and true to themselves. Over time, as people became more concerned with power and appearances, the gift became rare. But now, through your love and leadership, it's returning to our people. The twins, now 7 years old, were the first of a new generation to be born with this gift naturally. Little Zara, their daughter, could sense when someone was sick before any symptoms showed. Her brother, Kenzo, could tell when people were troubled in their hearts and needed counsel. As news of this spread, something remarkable happened in Zalanga. Instead of people trying to hide their true feelings or maintain false appearances, they began embracing honesty in all things. The kingdom became known as a place where truth was valued above all else. The nobles who had once resisted change became some of its strongest supporters, especially after experiencing how liberating it felt to live without pretense. The healing houses became places not just for treating physical ailments, but for helping people align with their true selves. On their 15th wedding anniversary, Amara and Kwame stood on the palace balcony, looking out over their transformed kingdom. The twins, now showing signs of becoming wise leaders in their own right, stood beside them. Zara had already started her training as a master healer, while Kenzo was learning both statecraft and the healing arts, believing that a kingdom's health depended on both body and spirit. "Who would have thought," Amara said, squeezing Kwame's hand, "that my curse would turn out to be the greatest gift our kingdom could receive?" Kwame smiled his mysterious smile, the same one he'd worn when he first arrived at the palace all those years ago. "Perhaps that's the greatest lesson in all of this," he replied. "What we fear most in ourselves often turns out to be exactly what the world needs." King Jelani and Queen Sophia, now proud grandparents, had gradually handed over more responsibilities to Amara and Kwame. They spent their days telling stories to their grandchildren and anyone else who would listen, teaching about the importance of staying true to oneself. The story of the cursed princess became the kingdom's most treasured tale, told not as a story of suffering, but as one of transformation. Parents would tell their children, "If you feel different, if you have a gift that seems like a burden, remember Princess Amara. Remember that what seems like a curse might be the ancestors pointing you toward your true path." As for the gift of the breath of truth, it became seen as a blessing rather than a curse. People came from far and wide to live in Zalanga, drawn by its reputation as a place where everyone, from royalty to common folk, could live authentically. Years later, when Amara and Kwame had grown old, they would often sit in the palace gardens, watching their grandchildren play. The kingdom had become exactly what they had dreamed of, a place where healing and truth went hand in hand, where wisdom was valued more than wealth, and where every person, regardless of their birth, could find their true path. The story of Princess Amara and Kwame became legend, spreading far beyond Zalanga's borders. It taught that curses can become blessings, that love can bridge any divide, and that the truest power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them find their authentic selves. The end of the story. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Make sure you drop your comment and share your thought with us.